Hi everybody, this is Dee at Aloha, Astro. We're looking at a full moon in the fixed air sign of Aquarius, August 19th, 2024. It's occurring at 2:25 p.m. Eastern Time at 27 degrees 15 minutes of Aquarius. Let's take a look at the forecast. Full moon in Aquarius, Monday, August 19th, activates the unpredictability and unexpected surprise potential of this Uranus-ruled fixed air sign in response to the emotional intensity of a full moon and the pressure of two T-square aspect patterns, a Yod aspect pattern and a Thor's hammer aspect pattern, in the midst of Mercury retrograding in dramatic Leo, as it joins the Sun in Leo opposing the Moon. The first T-square involving Uranus and Taurus, the Sun and Mercury, and the Moon creates a stubborn resistance to change, letting go of something or someone, or the thought of having to revisit an issue. The second T-square, occurring under flexible, mutable energy, consists of Mars conjunct Jupiter in Gemini, Venus in Virgo, and Saturn in Pisces, indicating that, like it or not, you must participate in the work of growth and progress. And if you are lucky, you may have more than one option to choose from, or if not, you have the choice between making the best of a situation and adapting, or making everything more complicated by avoiding it or complaining about it. The strong spiritual and fated overtones of the Yod and the Thor's hammer are amplified further by Pluto retrograde at 0 degrees of Aquarius, playing a role in both those aspect patterns as it amplifies and empowers the Sun, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune. Pluto is asking you to step into power, passion, and imagination and faith. Aquarius rules the 11th house of friends, groups, organizations, the audience, the internet, technology, fame, and the future of humanity. It highlights the unique qualities an individual brings to society and how the institutions in society advance both humanity and the individual. You may experience events or encounter people so far out of your normal, which could totally turn your view of yourself and life upside down and around. Somehow, it's all for the best, but you may not know that fully until you get used to your new normal. Strive to balance your mind and your heart, and don't be afraid to change. So let's take a look at what the sky looks like at the moment. And here we've got that full moon with the moon at 27 degrees 15 minutes opposing the sun at 27:15. It is conjunct rather tightly Mercury retrograde at 26 degrees of Leo. It came out of Virgo, went back into Leo on the 14th or the 15th. So we're now going to be going into that Leo energy where we came from a couple of weeks back. It can definitely give you the chance to go back over something, especially if it was something that you had a strong desire to create or a strong interest, and if you did not follow through, it can help you direct your focus, your attention back toward that creative endeavor. But because we are looking at that T-square with the ruler of Aquarius, the planet Uranus, in Taurus, which is possibly one of the most stubborn of the fixed signs, because it is very sensual and material, the idea of changes that threaten your sense of safety and security, or anything having to do with money, materialism, or your pleasure and comfort, would definitely cause you some stress. And yet the change may be inevitable and it may be for the better, but at the time that you're going through it, that doesn't necessarily make it comfortable. Or if right now there are too many directions to look in with the other T-square, where we have multiple options, Gemini, with a planet of action and a planet of growth and abundance and expansion, in a T-square with Venus in Virgo, which simply wants to figure out the who, what, when, why, where, how of things, and Saturn in Pisces, and Pisces looks at the whole smorgasbord, which direction to choose, where to go, what to do. Now, between the stubbornness of that T-square and the potential for procrastination or distraction that comes from the mutable energy of that T-square, things may feel a bit squirrely. But from the perspective of the other two enclosed patterns here that are quite distinct, we have that Yod, or finger of God, and that does involve sense of self, the sun, thoughts, ideas, communication, plans, Mercury. And we have kind of higher energy coming in with both Pluto and Neptune. We have an interesting thing going on with Pluto at 0 degrees and Neptune at 29. So we have very beginning energy, that feeling of something being entirely original, fresh, or new in some way, and then the urgency that comes from a final degree. And yes, Neptune moves very slowly. It will hang out at that 29th degree for quite a while. We won't see it move off into Aries until we get into May of 2025, that we have it moving fully into Aries. But the feeling of beginnings and endings, kind of like an alpha and omega turning point, and the creative power that is within that, if you do take some control of a situation or think bigger and follow your inspiration, your faith with the Neptune energy in Pisces, your imagination, honestly, to believe that things can work out and that they can work out for the better, and that you are playing a part in all of that through showing up and putting out your best effort in terms of your imagination, creativity, participation, and generally positivity, high enthusiasm. We do have a nice trine going on between Chiron and Aries, which brings that I am energy forward and combines it with the creativity and the questing. We've got wave showing, or leadership energy, initiating energy, with questing, heroic, larger than life energy, strong warrior, fire going on here, and the courage to act upon what you feel is right. We also have a minor grand trine going on with Chiron, Jupiter and Mars in Gemini, and the moon in Aquarius. This does give a certain feeling of invincibility. Do you remember when you were a child and you just thought you were going to live forever? That's kind of the feeling here, that you're going to scooch through somehow, or that you're going to be the exception to the rule and somehow come out ahead and come out winning. We have another minor grand trine, and I didn't write about these in the forecast. I highlighted primarily the enclosed larger aspect patterns, but these smaller ones are what's keeping everything afloat, or keeping the momentum going toward a goal, and assisting in handling all the complicated stuff that's going on around you. Here we've got the three outer planets of Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, all in a minor grand trine together. And those are the transpersonal planets, those outer generational planets that bring change and inspiration, beauty, healing, inspiration, and empowerment, and crisis, transformation, upheaval. So even though you might feel like you're getting a shakedown in some area of your life, or maybe multiple areas at one time, because we do have a very busy sky right now. There's a lot of ground being covered and many signs involved and a lot of aspect patterns, so that you probably have more than one thing happening at this time frame, or particular areas of life that need your attention all at the same time. So where was I going with that? This is kind of like higher level functioning, and some of the willingness to just kind of be like the Fool in the tarot. That one minor T square does have a lot of that energy that, well, it's always worked out before, it'll work out now. You've got your angels, your guides with you, so go on, step off that cliff and see what happens. Honestly, don't go stepping off literal cliffs, but definitely look down other avenues that perhaps you have not explored before, or return to some of the things, particularly from your childhood. We have some strong childhood indicators with Gemini and Leo patterns right now. The conjunction of the Sun and Mercury in Leo, which rule the fifth house, and that is creativity and children, the childlike, playful, imaginative mind, and similar with Gemini, which rules the third house, and that is the early childhood, formative ideas, and imagination. And the brotherly love, the idea that everybody else is similar to us. And the Aquarius energy, I always find it interesting that Aquarius is kind of like the big homogenous friend to all, great equalizer within society. However, it is also very supportive of each person's individuality and uniqueness, and the particular talents or qualities that they're going to bring forward into society. And if we look at the houses that Leo and Aquarius belong to, where we find that opposition, it is the fifth house of romance, dating, creativity, children, pets, hobbies, gambling, and competitive sports. Basically, we enjoy life there with other people, mainly for ourselves. Uh, we run around feeling a bit like mini gods, but the demands of the 11th house Aquarius energy opposite is where we are meant to share all of that with a more organized group, or to bring it out to society for the betterment of society. What else do we have going on in here? The lunar nodes are still hanging around here in Aries Libra, which will focus on relationship, self, and the other. And we do have a loose conjunction between Neptune and the North Node, and perhaps there would be some letting go. If you realize that you just don't really belong anymore, and if the mindset or the activities of a particular friend or group don't mesh with yours anymore, then you may come to that awareness, because the North Node and Neptune are squaring Jupiter and Mars. And Saturn as well in a square to Jupiter and Mars, and that can bring forth the energy in that T-square where we want the benevolence and the growth of both Venus and Jupiter, but then we have the work or the realistic side of life of Saturn. And Saturn is where we should on ourselves, or other people should on us. You should do this, you should do that. So that puts some of the brakes on that gas that's running through with Jupiter and Venus. And the means is what we have to look toward, or the adaptation to what's going on so that we are aware of the flow and then choose when and how we want to enter into it. If you can, take some time for preparation before you make changes or take actions based on impulse. I know there's no way to guarantee safety or security in anything, but do give things a little bit of thought before you jump impulsively into things so that you have some plan B or you are prepared for potential outcomes. And there are multiple scenarios or outcomes that are present right now, plus that major factor of there are things that we just cannot see. And that is often more likely when we have strong Aquarius Uranus energy, and both the moon in Aquarius plus Uranus are pointing toward, yeah, things can be surprising, but I also think that they are for the better because Uranus is making a trine to Venus, possibly a refresher within relationships or some new love that comes in that may be more purposeful, practical, or rooted in the simpler things in life. Then we have that trine with Pluto and that sextile with Neptune. And that definitely takes it up to the level of there's something bigger going on. You might only be able to see as far as what's immediately in front of you while you're in the midst of it, but there are bigger things going on, as both that Yod and that Thor's hammer are pointing to, and you're just caught up in it. So do your best, and as I mentioned in the forecast, the balance of the heart, which is very Leo, and the balance with the mental aspect, the analytical or detached energy, to create balance between, or seek to create balance between your mind and your heart so that you can move forward and not be knocked off guard. All right, let's take a look at the Sabian symbol, which is a pretty simple one, actually. We round up to 28 degrees. A tree felled and sawed to ensure a supply of wood for the winter. Keynote: knowledge and skill used in its natural surroundings for the satisfaction of vital basic needs. This symbol combines, as it were, the implications represented in the two preceding ones. It relates to natural living, I think they dropped a word here, and the human capacity to prepare for the future and to use both physical strength and mental ingenuity. In meeting the hardships inherent in an existence close to nature, strength, efficiency, and intelligence are needed, but they are incorporated in a life in which every act can be part of a harmonic and beautiful ritual permeated with deep significance. Well, what's the expression? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, and after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. We are spiritual beings here, being busy in life, doing things. And we do have the influence right now of Venus in Virgo, and we will be returning before too long to Mercury moving through Virgo and the Sun entering Virgo, and that is quite needs-oriented, and then opposing the Neptune and Saturn in Pisces energy, where we've had a realistic planet Saturn moving through Pisces, while we've also had the most spiritual planet Neptune, which rules Pisces, focusing on the beingness. So the balancing of our being and doing is important at this full moon as well. This is the third in the 66th fivefold series of symbols. It refers to the efficient use of natural resources for ensuring man's well-being. Such a use is based on intelligent foresight. Well, from the perspective of looking around, especially at the world and what's going on in it, we can say that we see the writing on the wall and we can anticipate which way things might go. But in actuality, things often go where our attention flows. I do think it's important to focus upon where you wish to be headed and what you would like to create or be a part of and participate in, basically walking the talk rather than looking at everything that you are not wanting and thinking it's all going to go in that direction, because we have an equal mix right now of both the material and the spiritual, and the pressures and work, as well as the ease, the flow, the support, and the harmony. My experience of life and your experience of life, even if we are living in a very similar time frame and societal structure, could be entirely different. I do think at this point in time, with this full moon in Aquarius, looking beyond your individuality and thinking about how you envision the future and the world, and then maybe contemplating that and considering, well, what are you bringing to the table and what are you choosing to support, would be an important thing. Anyway, that's the full moon, and there's so much here that I could probably go on for hours. But until next time, at the new moon coming up in September, I believe the 3rd, stay safe. Be aware that Mercury will be retrograde until the 28th, and pay attention particularly on the road, because Mercury at this full moon is under duress and patience is at a low. So do be aware of your surroundings when you are out traveling. And if people are a little bit on the rude side right now, be tolerant or forgiving and chalk it up to the added stress of this full moon and some slightly childish overtones to it, where people may be outspoken. But the interesting thing about the sign of Aquarius is that it is the truth seeker, and you might find that some of the things that are said impulsively or are under anger may be closer to the truth than what comes out in a more controlled conversation. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.